My husband cheated on me with an intern doctor while I was pregnant. Worse, he wanted her to perform my C-section when I was in labor and threatened to withhold anesthesia if I didn't agree. On the day of the C-section, my husband suddenly stopped the surgery and replaced the top C-section specialist I paid a fortune to bring in with his childhood friend. Sarah, Jessica has low intern scores facing termination. If she can successfully perform this surgery as the lead surgeon, she'll have a chance for special admission/full staff privileges. Just do it as a favor for Jessica. It's a simple C-section like this. It'll be fine for her to be the lead surgeon. Or do you just enjoy having other male doctors see you undressed? I vehemently shook my head, protesting, absolutely refusing to let the completely unprofessional Jessica be the lead surgeon for my C-section. But my husband had signed the surgical consent form long ago, and he threatened that if I didn't agree, he wouldn't give me anesthesia. In the operating room, Jessica deliberately forgot to give me anesthesia. I blacked out from the searing pain, only to be jolted awake again by it. Jessica, as the lead surgeon, was leisurely picking at her nails with a scalpel. Can't handle this? Who told you to steal Bobby from me? This is your lesson. I cried out for help, wanting the specialist outside to come save me, but Jessica held the scalpel to my neck. Don't you just hate seeing me succeed and not wanting me to get full staff privileges? Scream again, and see if I don't strangle your baby. For the sake of my child, I fell silent. But Jessica, due to improper operation, wrapped the umbilical cord around the baby's neck, causing the child to suffocate to death. I passed out in despair. When I woke up, my husband was crazed with regret, but I felt a sense of release. I don't agree. Dr. Miller is someone I waited 5 months to get an appointment with. He's the most professional doctor for C-sections right now. Besides, I spent a full $50,000 to bring Dr. Miller to this private hospital to perform the surgery. You think you can just switch doctors? The sharp pain in my abdomen already had me drenched in sweat, but I still clung desperately to Dr. Miller's sleeve, preventing them from dragging him out. Robert stood to the side, his expression impatient. Money, money, money. Is $50,000 more important than Jessica's future? This hospital is also the city's best private hospital. If Jessica gets fired, what hospital will hire her in the future? What about Jessica's dream of being a doctor? You only ever think about yourself. I stared at Robert in disbelief. Robert, I'm your wife. The baby in my belly is your child. How dare you entrust our lives to someone like Jessica who couldn't even pass her internship assessment? Dr. Miller also said with a grave expression, your baby is in a breech position, and there's a risk of the umbilical cord being wrapped around its neck. If handled improperly by an unprofessional person, it could very likely result in the loss of both lives. The door was slammed open. Jessica, already in her scrubs and waiting outside, looked like a wounded rabbit, her eyes red but her face resolute as she looked at us. Yes, Dr. Miller, you are very accomplished in the field, but can you just casually criticize my medical skills as unprofessional? And Sarah, I know you've never liked me, but I cannot accept you taking out your personal grudges on my professional evaluation. That is an insult to me. Since neither of you want me to do this surgery, then I won't. I'll just leave this hospital and work as a small nurse somewhere else. That would be more comfortable than being casually slandered by you. With that, Jessica raised her hand to take off her scrubs. Seeing this, Robert grabbed Jessica's hand, worriedly saying, Jessica, what are you talking about? Stay at this private hospital. As an investor, I can at least see you a little. If you go to another hospital, what if they bully you? You have such a straightforward personality, you're only suited to be under my protection. Be good, Bobby will always protect you. Don't listen to their nonsense. Robert raised a hand, and the several security guards behind him immediately grabbed Dr. Miller by his arms and escorted him out. I immediately propped myself up, trying to get off the bed. A surgery performed by Jessica was equivalent to a death sentence for me. I absolutely would not agree. But Robert looked at me with an expression that suggested I was being utterly unreasonable. Sarah, stop making a fuss. It's just a C-section, isn't it? So many poor people deliver babies on the streets. You getting a C-section is already the best treatment. How much more delicate do you need to be? I've never heard of anyone failing a C-section. I sneered. Aren't you a shareholder in this hospital? The person you protect, does she need a special surgery just to get full staff privileges? Can't you just issue her a full staff privileges document directly? Hearing this, Robert's expression softened slightly, and he sighed. I wish I could, but my little Jessica. Jessica tightly clenched her hands, tears falling from her eyes. Bobby said he would make me a director right away, but I refused. I want to earn everyone's respect fair and square. I want to become a top obstetrician and gynecologist step by step with my own strength. Sarah, although they say women from the city are more open-minded, a C-section does require you to be undressed. You wouldn't want any man other than Bobby to see you naked, would you? Especially since you specifically requested Dr. Miller to do the surgery. What would people think of Bobby? Bobby is generous and doesn't mind, but as Bobby's close family friend, female, I have the right to stand up for him. At this point, Jessica's voice grew much louder. I decided to study medicine from a young age to one day help women avoid enduring such gossip. But I don't understand. I am the only female doctor in this hospital, and you could have chosen me, yet you kept insisting on Dr. Miller doing the surgery. What kind of unspeakable secret do you two have? I looked at Jessica in disbelief, trying to understand what she was saying, but the more I thought, the angrier I became, and my belly suddenly cramped. Seeing my suddenly pale face, Robert rushed over, worriedly checking my condition, and immediately ordered the medical staff to clear the room. Wife, you're going into labor. We'll talk about everything else after the baby is born. Just listen to Jessica for now. She won't harm you. Right now, the most important thing is for mother and child to be safe. With that, Robert turned to leave. I used my last ounce of strength to grab Robert's hand, my voice faint. Change the doctor. Not Dr. Miller, any other doctor is fine, but it absolutely cannot be Jessica. Robert clenched his fist, pulled his hand away from mine, and signed the surgical consent form. Sarah, I know you've always had something against Jessica, but what she just said makes sense. She's the only suitable person to do your surgery. I, Robert, will not allow my wife to be seen undressed by another man. If we delay any longer, not only will you and the baby be in danger, but Jessica's surgical difficulty will also increase. I won't let you find ways to stall anymore. If you still don't agree to Jessica doing the surgery, then you won't get any anesthetic in the operating room either. A lump formed in my throat, and I was speechless for a moment. Robert knew I was most afraid of pain, yet he would go so far as to threaten me with no anesthesia just to pave the way for Jessica. My heart felt numb, and I felt like the person in front of me was so cold he was a stranger. In the moment I was stunned and let go of his hand, Robert quickly cleared out all unrelated personnel and even gave Jessica a thoughtful hug. Go on, be brave and do it. Bobby will always be behind you, supporting you. They embraced affectionately, and I fainted from the contractions. Before losing consciousness, I heard Jessica's sweet voice. Bobby, can I ask for something? For this surgery, I don't need an assistant. I want to complete it by myself. Because... Robert put his index finger to Jessica's lips. Jessica, you don't need to explain to me. Your choice must have your reasons. I will unconditionally do as you wish. When I woke up again, I was roused by agonizing pain. What met my eyes was the sterile white of the operating room ceiling. Looking down, I saw a shocking expanse of red. I was strapped to the operating table, my abdomen split open by a large incision. It was just gaping open. In the pool of blood, I could vaguely see the placenta struggling, trying to detach from my body. As soon as the baby moved, it pulled at my incision, and I violently convulsed. My vision briefly went black from the intense pain. Only then did I realize that Jessica had cut open my belly but hadn't given me anesthesia. Jessica, what are you trying to do? Why didn't you give me anesthesia? It hurts. Anesthesia. My instinct for survival made me soften my tone towards Jessica, pleading with her repeatedly for anesthetic. But at that moment, Jessica was sitting on the edge of the operating table with her legs crossed, casually picking at her nails with a scalpel. I called out several times before she slowly stood up, frowning and scolding me, "Stop shouting. It's almost the chorus." Only then did I notice that she had brought Bluetooth earphones into the operating room and was listening to music, lost in the melody. I tried to move with difficulty, but the incision prevented me from making any rash movements. I could only use all my strength to shout, "Help! Dr. Miller! Help!" Jessica finally clicked her tongue in annoyance, took off her earphones, and slapped me across the face. "What are you yelling for? Shoo! Tee up! Do you want everyone to come in? Aren't you just trying to cause trouble and prevent me from getting full staff privileges? I'm telling you, both of your lives are in my hands right now. If you don't behave, I'll strangle your baby right now." I closed my eyes, taking deep breaths to alleviate the pain, feeling that everything before me was utterly absurd. "Jessica, didn't you say your dream from childhood was saving lives and helping women? Didn't you always want to prove yourself? If you kill my child, you will destroy your dream with your own hands." Jessica burst into laughter as if she had heard the funniest joke. "Sarah, did you believe everything I said? If I didn't say that, how would Bobby have trusted me with you? And I said that just to find an opportunity to torture you openly. Who told you to marry Bobby, to try and ruin our relationship, and even bear him a child? The person Bobby cares about most will always be me. You were just a fleeting novelty. Did you really think you could use a child to keep him? Dream on." A cold sweat broke out on my back. "From the start, you wanted to kill my child? Of course not. If the child died, Bobby would blame me, wouldn't he? I had a plan ready. Just wait and see. After today, Bobby will discard you like trash, despise you like dirt, and won't even look at you. So if you're smart and divorce Bobby voluntarily, I'll let you suffer less and let your child be born safely." But the situation was no longer entirely in Jessica's control. As a mother, I could feel the baby's heartbeat growing weaker, its struggles diminishing. "Jessica, I'll agree to anything you say, just save the baby first. Dr. Miller said the baby has an umbilical cord around its neck and is in danger of suffocating. Any longer and it will be too late. Save the baby quickly." "Shut up!" Jessica snapped fiercely. "It's always Dr. Miller, Dr. Miller. I hate these old-fashioned types the most. They think they're so great after doing a few Jerry's. Is what he says definitely right? Did he see the baby to talk nonsense? Isn't he just trying to subtly belittle me?" I refuse to listen to him. There's no umbilical cord around the neck. The baby looks perfectly healthy to me, just sleeping comfortably. Besides, do you think I don't know what you're planning? As soon as the baby is born, Robert will hear the infant's cry and rush in impatiently, and you'll be saved. You finally fell into my hands. How could I let you go easily? I haven't finished tormenting you yet." She laughed ferociously, raising the scalpel and making a deep cut on my abdomen. I screamed in agony, feeling as if my internal organs were being ripped open. "Who told you not to know your place and marry Robert? Who told you to always badmouth me to Robert? This is your lesson. While glaring at me viciously, she made a second cut on my abdomen, deeper than the first. I let out a more gut-wrenching scream than before. The closer to the internal organs, the more nerve endings were connected, and the more intense the pain. I couldn't stop trembling and screaming. "Sarah, do you know what you deserve it means? My internship was supposed to pass. It's all because of you. It's all because Bobby listened to your nonsense and caused me to lose my assessment scores, facing termination. Otherwise, I would have gotten full staff privileges long ago. So you lying here and being punished today is all your own fault." I remembered now. So that girl that day was her. Before I was pregnant, I had come to the hospital once because of low blood sugar and accidentally witnessed a scene of workplace bullying. In the stairwell, a girl wearing a mask was viciously beating another girl with disheveled hair. I intervened and was knocked to the ground by a punch from the masked girl, who told me to mind my own business. Later, Robert arrived just in time, and the masked girl hastily stopped. It was me who told Robert to find this intern doctor, deduct all her performance scores, and eliminate her naturally. Now it seemed that masked girl was Jessica. If you hadn't been nosy, how could I have had my performance scores deducted? How could Robert have looked at me with such cold eyes? He's never looked at me like that before. Jessica had always presented herself as a righteous and loving woman in front of Robert, so she naturally dared not bring this matter up to him again and could only endure the disciplinary action of having her performance scores deducted. And now, she was venting all her anger on me. My body had begun to go into shock. My consciousness was fading, and I felt life slipping away. The intercom at the door suddenly lit up. Jessica cursed, put down the scalpel, and answered the phone. Robert's voice came through. "Jessica, is something wrong? I think I heard Sarah screaming in pain. Did something happen?" Jessica glared at me, covered the receiver, and swore at me, "Consider yourself lucky." Then she calmly explained, "Nothing, Bobby. Sarah just has strong drug resistance and woke up mid-surgery, but the surgery is almost over. I'll stitch up Sarah's belly, and you'll see the baby soon, Bobby." "Right, how is my baby? Is she healthy? Does she look like me?" Jessica's face returned to her calculating expression, with a hint of playfulness. "You'll see in a bit." Robert pondered for a moment and then said to Jessica, "Since she's awake, give the phone to Sarah. I have a few things to tell her. I'm afraid she might delay your getting full staff privileges." Jessica raised an eyebrow, her face filled with a happy smile, and mercifully shoved the intercom into my hand. Robert kept rambling in my ear. "Sarah, when you come out of the operating room later, the hospital director will come to see you. Act relaxed and say a few words of praise for Jessica, thanking her for saving your life. Do you understand? I'm giving you this important task. Don't mess it up." My ears could no longer hear what Robert was saying. Oh, sorrow is greater than a dead heart. At this moment, my heart died. The heart that had loved Robert for 7 years finally died at the moment I bore his child. I gave a tragic laugh. "Robert, our baby is a boy. Go wait in the nursery. I want you to personally make the bed for the baby beforehand." Robert cleared his throat unnaturally. "Of course. I will naturally treat my child with care." Robert didn't see Jessica's suddenly pale face. After hanging up the phone, I smiled. "Jessica, I figured out your plan. You were going to replace my baby with a fake one so that in a paternity test, Robert would mistakenly believe I cheated on him and you could quietly kill my biological child with Robert. So the reason you kept delaying was that whether the baby in my belly lived or died didn't matter to you at all. You just needed to pretend to do something here and wait for your person to bring the swapped baby to the operating room. Then you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And this hospital only has 1 room suitable for a newborn infant to survive in, which is the nursery." Robert has a photographic memory. As long as he's in the nursery, your person wouldn't dare make a move. Your plan is already foiled, Jessica. Now, if you want to save your reputation and your medical career, you can only save my child." Jessica panicked completely. She finally removed the placenta from my belly and frantically began to untangle the umbilical cord from the baby. I finally let out a long breath. Pain beyond my endurance had surrounded me. I had forced myself to stay conscious only because I still had to battle wits with Jessica and save the child that belonged to me in my belly. I couldn't relax. Now that I had one, my body suddenly felt like it was being pierced by thousands of steel nails. My mind also rapidly emptied. Before I passed out, I saw Jessica's sweat-drenched face and frightened expression. "Why isn't it moving? Why is it purple? How do I untangle this umbilical cord? I don't remember. What do I do? Hey, little one, don't die. If you die, you'll really ruin me. Your dad will hate me to death." The door was violently thrown open. Robert looked at Jessica with a grim face. "What did you say?" I, however, suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood and completely passed out. When I woke up again, I had been rescued. Robert sat by the bed, his eyes bloodshot, holding my hand tightly. Seeing me awake, Robert was ecstatic. "Sarah, you're awake? That's great. It's good that you're okay. That's all that matters." I shook his hand away and asked coldly, "Where's the baby?" A flicker of sadness crossed Robert's face. The baby is fine. She's in the nursery, waiting for you to get better so you can see her. It's a little princess. As beautiful as you." I sneered, looking into Robert's eyes. "Robert, I'm asking you one more time. Where is the baby?" Robert sighed. "Wife, I don't care how the baby is right now. I only care about you. You have to get better. If the baby is gone, we can have another one. But if you're gone, what will I do by myself?" My heart was dead silent. My belly felt empty, and my heart felt empty with it. My child was dead. I had heard Jessica say it myself before I passed out. My child was dead. Robert carefully held me in his arms, coaxing me. "Sarah, it's all my fault. I'm no good. You can hit me or scold me all you want. I just beg you to recover quickly. Next year, let's have another baby, next year, okay?" I silently looked at Robert, at the man I had loved for 7 years. "Robert, let's get a divorce." "What?" Robert looked at me in disbelief. "Wife, I know you're very sad that the baby is gone, but it was really an accident. The doctor also said that the survival rate for babies with the umbilical cord wrapped around their neck is small. Just pretend you never had this baby. Can we start over?" He held my hand and repeatedly slapped his own face with it. "Wife, if you hate me, you can hit me, but please don't divorce me, okay?" My heart felt completely numb. What a convenient accident. The surveillance in the operating room had been turned off by Jessica. All the inhuman treatment I suffered in there was buried, unknown to anyone. Several hours of a C-section without anesthesia, a gaping belly, and a suffocated child, all only amounted to Robert's flippant remark about an accident. At this moment, I felt both ridiculous and pathetic. Pathetic that the harm I suffered had no outlet, and ridiculous that I had foolishly loved such a worthless man for 7 years, loving him so much that I was willing to give up my career to be a full-time housewife by his side, so afraid of pain yet willingly becoming pregnant for him, not getting a good night's sleep for 10 months. Now, let all this absurdity end. Robert, I'm tired. The courthouse isn't closed yet. Let's go get the divorce finalized. Don't make me say it a third time. I don't agree. Robert suddenly stood up agitatedly. I don't agree. Sarah, we've been together for 7 years. Are you going to divorce me because of one baby's accident? I can't accept this. The door suddenly burst open. Jessica rushed in, her hair disheveled. Bobby, Sarah, please don't argue because of me. It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on taking on this surgery to save Sarah's reputation, perhaps the baby would have had a chance to live. It's all my fault. If you want to hit or scold someone, take it out on me. Please don't let me ruin your relationship. Jessica wiped away tears and knelt down in front of me. Sarah, scold me. Don't scold Bobby. Bobby only treated you like that because he wanted to help me. He meant well. It wasn't intentional. I looked at Jessica, who had burst in and was talking to herself, my blood boiling. I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. Jessica, I'll kill you to pay for my child's death. Jessica didn't flinch. A bloody scratch appeared on her face instantly from my nails. She wiped her face, gave a tragic smile, and began slapping her own face repeatedly and furiously with both hands. As long as Sarah is appeased, I am willing to disfigure myself. Don't worry, Sarah. I'll keep slapping until you are satisfied. I will also resign from the hospital to give you an explanation. Robert stood between us, his expression unusually conflicted. Jessica, it's understandable that Sarah is blaming you since her baby had an accident, but you can't just give up like this. Wasn't studying medicine your dream since childhood? Which doctor hasn't had a failed surgery in their life? Are you going to end your career because of one accident? Jessica slapped her wound again fiercely, her eyes resolute. Dr. Miller also said that Sarah's surgery had special circumstances. It was my arrogance and overconfidence that made me take on a surgery that was almost impossible to complete. The baby didn't make it. I accept it. I admit my medical skills are poor. I'll resign and put down my scalpel. Patient families watching from the hallway began to whisper, some even pulling out their phones to record, calling it a scene of public dispute/controversy. I think Dr. Jessica is fine. There are unpredictable accidents in C-sections. Which surgery can be 100% safe? Bullying a doctor like this because of an accident, who would dare to be a doctor anymore? I support Dr. Jessica. My husband was hospitalized here last month and always came back praising Dr. Jessica for being gentle and caring, treating him like her own brother. How could a doctor like that intentionally kill a baby? But Dr. Miller said the baby was in a breech position. Dr. Miller himself couldn't guarantee the surgery would be successful. Why are they denying Dr. Jessica's professionalism based on this now? I heard she got in as the top student. If she can't do it, no other doctor can either. Besides, the patient's family themselves signed the surgical consent form. Now they're blaming Dr. Jessica. It's completely unreasonable. I watched the surrounding crowd with cold eyes, finding everything so ridiculous. I didn't want to stay in this hospital for a second longer. I pulled away from Robert's hand and began putting on my coat and shoes, ready to leave. A flicker of undetectable smugness crossed Jessica's face, and then she suddenly shouted loudly and pulled a knife from her pocket. Enough! Sarah, do you insist on me paying with my life to be satisfied? Fine, if only my death will fulfill your wish, then I'll die for you to see. With that, she looked up at me, her face full of tears, and raised the scalpel high in her hand, as if waiting for my answer. I twitched the corner of my mouth. Yes, then die for me to see. Jessica's eyes widened, and her words were stuck in her throat. You. Enough! Robert roared, forcefully snatching the scalpel from Jessica's hand and throwing it on the ground. Jessica also seemed to lose all strength and collapsed into Robert's arms. Sarah, do you have to drive Jessica to her death to be satisfied? The baby is gone, and I'm tolerating your tantrum, but you can't go too far. First, you want a divorce, then you're bullying Jessica. How did you become like this? Yes, this is how I've become. So divorce me, and let me go and let yourself go. Robert didn't follow me a single step when I walked out of the hospital room. Sarah, you should calm down. I'll come pick you up when you're not angry anymore. I have to watch Jessica during this time. I'm afraid she'll do something rash. Whatever. I received a call from Jessica at the airport. See? Even if I mess up this badly, Bobby will sort it out for me. What do you have to compare with me? I fiddled with my passport. Yeah, nothing to compare. That's why I'm getting far away from you two crazy people. Jessica heard the airport background noise and said, satisfied, you better get out of the country and never let Robert find you. Otherwise, as long as you're by Robert's side for a day, I'll use the video of you forcing me to harm myself to keep cyberbullying you online, making it impossible for you to stay back home, the US. I nodded. Then you'd better not let Robert find me either. Of course. I wouldn't be stupid enough to reveal your whereabouts to Robert myself. I hung up the phone and stepped onto the flight to Paris. This time, reborn, I didn't want to be obsessed with the trivial matters of past love affairs. I just wanted to live for myself, to pursue my profession, fulfill my dream, and not rely on men anymore. I settled in Paris, bought a house with my savings, and got into the design school I wanted. Since Robert didn't agree to a divorce, I would just leave him completely so he could never find me, and he could consider himself widowed. 2 years later, I finished my studies early and opened a small design company in Paris. On the opening day, something that looked less than human rolled onto my red carpet. It was Jessica. Jessica was unrecognizable, her body and face covered in scars from cigarette burns and beatings with sticks. She was almost impossible to recognize as the girl Robert had once pampered. She crawled over and grabbed my ankle, repeatedly banging her head on the ground. Sarah, I was wrong. It's all my fault. Please come back. I won't fight you for Robert anymore. He's going to beat me to death. Please save me. I don't want to die. 2 security guards came and pulled her away. I squatted down and wiped the dirt from my ankle. I never deliberately hid my whereabouts. Robert is so rich, yet he couldn't find me. Wasn't it you who was secretly helping me erase my information so Robert couldn't find me, allowing you two to be together forever? Jessica gave a self-mocking laugh. Yes, but I regret it now. I was wrong. I thought that as long as he couldn't find you, he would give up on you and see me who was always by his side. Over time, I would surely replace you. But I was wrong. I was wrong from he beginning. I didn't expect Robert to truly love you. He found something was wrong and sent people to investigate me. They found out about me bullying others. He discovered that your last call before leaving the country was to me and concluded that I was jealous of you, retaliated against you, and deliberately sent you abroad, leaving your life uncertain. Because he couldn't find you, he went mad with anxiety, thinking I had killed you. He tortured me fiercely every day, saying he was avenging you. I couldn't stand it anymore. I'm not fighting anymore. I'll give Robert back to you. I don't want him. I turned back to admire my office building, a smile of relief on my face. But I haven't wanted Robert for a long time. What you don't want to fight for, I have never bothered to fight with you over. What you want to give back to me is just extra trash. The air around us fell silent. Robert appeared alone at the end of the red carpet. He looked haggard, unshaven, with no one accompanying him, not at all like the dominant CEO he once was. Sarah, do you really not want me anymore? That's right, I don't. From the moment you chose Jessica over me and our child, there was no love between us, only hate. Robert cautiously approached me. Sarah, that's great. You're alive. It's good that you're alive. It's good. Jessica has always been two-faced. keeping me in the dark for so long. If I had known she was such a wicked woman, I would never have entrusted your life and the baby's life to her. Will you give me another chance? Sarah, believe me, I've sent people to investigate. I will definitely make sure Jessica gives you an explanation, gives our child an explanation. But the surveillance in the operating room was hacked, and we can't find out what exactly she did in there. Can you tell me? I curled my lip. The man who claimed to love me was only thinking of asking me what I went through in the operating room 3 years later. Was it ridiculous? Did it matter? It doesn't matter anymore. I shook my head and motioned for people to drive them away. It was an auspicious day for my opening, and I didn't want unlucky people disturbing it. Robert stood stubbornly rooted to the spot, refusing to leave. He was beaten bloody by the tall French bodyguards, but he clung to the ground with his hands, unwilling to let go. Sarah, you can't drive me away. I'm your legal husband, the man you loved for 7 years. Don't even think about trying to escape me. The moment I left the country, I had reported myself as missing and erased all information about the name Sarah. 3 years had passed since then. Sarah's was legally declared missing/disappeared from the records long ago, and Robert and I were no longer husband and wife. Your wife died long ago. You're not married, you're widowed. And I'm not Sarah. You have the wrong person. Robert pulled out a knife and fiercely lunged at the people around him. Get lost, all of you. I have a knife. Don't come any closer. Anyone who tries to stop me from taking my wife home, I'll kill them. I found it laughable. Robert, stop. This isn't back home, the US. Guns are not prohibited here. Are you sure you want to take on guns with a knife? As soon as I finished speaking, several fully armed security guards walked out from the office building behind me, each holding a gun, their muzzles glinting and aimed directly at Robert. Robert swallowed hard and finally left, abandoning Jessica. Jessica had no identification and couldn't return back home, the US. She ended up living on the streets every day. Later, it was said that she wandered into an area of hypocrites, was robbed of all her money, and forced to take drugs. She never returned back home, the US, and became a walking corpse, living rough on the streets. After Robert returned back home, the US, he went to extreme lengths to recover the surveillance footage and thoroughly investigate Jessica. By the time I opened my third branch office, the video from the operating room had finally been restored. Robert went mad. He squandered his fortune searching for Jessica worldwide with only one goal, to bring Jessica back home, the US, and see her brought to justice. Jessica was already unrecognizable. When she saw Robert, she regained a last shred of sanity. Bobby, I knew you couldn't bear to leave me. I knew you still cared about me in your heart. Robert didn't say a word and threw her into an abandoned factory frequented by homeless people for them to have their way with. I heard later that Jessica's hands and feet were broken, and her voice was permanently damaged by drugs. When Robert went to pick her up, her belly was heavily swollen, and she was 7 or 8 months pregnant. Robert invited me back home, the US, saying he would agree to the divorce if I forgave him. I missed Chinese food, so I accepted the invitation. Anyway, I now had the means to protect myself and somewhere to go. I was no longer afraid of him, no longer powerless to resist. Robert led me to that operating room, gently supporting me, and walked up to a terrified Jessica. Jessica was bound at her limbs. Her belly had been carelessly cut open with a scalpel. Because it hadn't been sterilized beforehand, her entire abdominal cavity was infected and festering, emitting a terrible stench. Robert carefully helped me put on gloves and handed me the scalpel. Sarah, I caught her for you. Do you want to get revenge yourself? Whatever you want to do to punish her, I won't say another word. Seeing that I stood still without reacting, he carefully took the scalpel from my hand again. Right, the scalpel is too dangerous. Sarah, don't hold it. Be careful not to cut yourself. I'll do it. Sarah, you haven't done anything wrong. You shouldn't get blood on your hands. I'll avenge you. Robert shouted and fiercely plunged the tip of the scalpel into Jessica's belly. Her uterus was cut open. A stillborn baby lay quietly in Jessica's abdomen. Jessica let out a few silent cries for help, then passed out, never to breathe again. I tightly clenched my fists, looking at the dead baby in Jessica's belly, my blood boiling. I couldn't bear to look anymore and turned to leave the operating room. Robert turned to me, smiling. Will you forgive me, Sarah? I called the police. When the police took Robert away, he knew he was surely going to die. But he kept smiling and asking me, "Can you forgive me, Sarah?" No. No. Robert's eyes instantly filled with despair, and he lost all will to survive. Robert was sentenced. Jessica died. Due to the impact of this incident, many old incidents at that hospital that had been covered up came to light. Jessica had harmed more than just me. Relying on Robert's favoritism, she had constantly caused trouble at the hospital, bullying colleagues, mistreating patients, and even openly seducing wealthy male patients. Several patients were misdiagnosed or had their conditions delayed due to her work negligence, ultimately missing the best time for treatment. These scandals had all been covered up by Robert under the pretext of protecting the hospital's reputation, using money to silence the patient families. Now that the truth was exposed, the public outrage could no longer be suppressed. When Robert's private hospital was raided, it was discovered that the hospital lacked basic accreditation. Robert had purely opened it to amuse Jessica back then, never expecting it would harm so many people, his wife and child, and himself. I was commended for my report. I donated the reward money to underprivileged children, supporting their art education. On the day the hospital was demolished, I came and adopted the last homeless abandoned child. Fate plays tricks on us. After investigating her background, I discovered that she was the very baby Jessica had intended to swap. After her plan was exposed, Jessica didn't dare to abandon the infant casually and couldn't find anyone willing to adopt her, so she had been loosely cared for at this hospital, living there until she was 3 years old. No one taught her to speak, but the moment she saw me, she tugged at my clothes and called out "Mom." Tears immediately streamed down my face. "Did my daughter send you to be with me? Since we are so destined, Mommy will take you home." The end. Many of the words were even blurred to the point where only the general outline remained. February 1st, 2024, 15 days after the miscarriage, the doctor said that I would never be able to get pregnant again. He didn't say anything. Maybe he was also very sad. March 15th, 2024, I know the truth. In order to get revenge on him, I decided to drink the amnesia serum and forget him forever. Then take the 30 million he gave me, settle abroad, and never come back. The diary entries ended here. Robert Rob Harrington trembled as he held his phone and dialed my number again and again. "Izzy, please, don't forget me. Don't leave me." The busy signal on the phone destroyed his last shred of sanity. He pulled out the 4-drip, ignoring his bleeding body, got in the car and chased towards the airport. It started to rain heavily on the road. Robert Rob Harrington sped recklessly on the highway, and ultimately rear-ended a large truck due to poor visibility, ending up back in the hospital. That man, who was as proud as a pine tree, could no longer stand up. 2 years later, my trip around the world ended, and I opened my first photography exhibition. Many people visited, including some old acquaintances. When they saw me, they subconsciously said, "Sister-in-law." I shook my head. "You're wrong, I'm already divorced. Your sister-in-law is Chelsea Thompson." The crowd's faces were awkward for a moment, and finally someone cautiously said, "Rob and Chelsea Thompson didn't get married." Although they live together now, Chelsea Thompson lives a miserable life every day, saying she wants to atone for her sins because she impersonated someone else's kindness. I raised my eyebrows, not caring. For years later, I used all the savings I earned from the photography exhibition to establish an international orphanage in various countries, especially to adopt those abandoned babies who were homeless due to war, disease, or various other reasons. Chels. E.A. Thompson's child is also here. After that woman was taken back to the Harrington family, she threw the child in the trash can the next day. How cruel. I named him Sam Newbegin. Simple, everything new. 10 years later, on the day I was nominated as an international philanthropist by the United Nations, I smiled and shared my life's experiences with everyone. Robert Rob Harrington, in front of the TV, shed a tear and finally set himself on fire in that mansion that had trapped him and Chelsea Thompson for a lifetime. And I am continuing my journey. The end.